So tonight I am a concert photographer. I'm shooting a band here in Amsterdam called Frankie Stu and Harvey Gunn, a band duo from the UK. And I'm gonna take along with me, show you how I think, how I approach this, just my entire process around concert photography. Now, I'm not a huge concert photographer. I like it, I like doing it a lot, but I don't do as much as I would want. So this is gonna be fun. I also wanna get some behind the scenes stuff with this new setup I've been trying. Okay, hold on. I don't know if you can see this, but this is the behind the scenes setup that I've been working with. So it's my camera with just whatever lens, and then the Insta360, there it is. The Insta360 on top of here, and it's very cool. And for what gear I'm gonna take with me, so I'm gonna shoot on the 35-150 Tamron. It's f2 to 2.8, but in case it gets too dark, I have my 135, trying to find a use for it. I'm gonna try to get some shots with this one. This might work, I got the 50 f1.4, and that's about it. And then I'm shooting the concert on this body right here. This is the Sony A7R5. So I do have a small plan for what I wanna do tonight. First of all, I'm just gonna go with my gut, do what I do usually, do what comes naturally. But I have 3 types of shots that I wanna get specifically tonight. So first of all are double exposures like this. Now I have to get a close up and then a wide and then put them together in Photoshop, not in camera, which is great. And then I also wanna get this trailing motion kind of thing. Now I also don't have to do this in camera. I prefer not to do this in camera. So I just gotta shoot a picture that might look good if I apply this sort of trailing motion effect in Photoshop. And then I also want to take shots like these because I have a filter that does these anamorphic flare type things. I have to get this in camera. So 2 of these types of shots I don't need to get in camera, but one I have to get in camera. So that's my plan. So I arrived at the venue around 7 when the doors opened. And because I've never been to this venue before, I had to scout out the location. So while the warm-up act was playing, I kind of walked around and tried to find angles that worked. So I went on the stage, I went in front of the stage, I went on top of the bleachers, just to, get a sense of what angles are possible, how the lighting works, and all that sort of stuff.
I think I found a few good shots.
So when the main act that I'm there to photograph comes on stage, I know what I'm doing. And then regarding my settings, I usually just shoot everything that I do in aperture priority mode. And concerts are really no different. So I set an aperture that I want, but here, because we have such little light, I try to shoot at the most open aperture my lens can do. So f1.4, f2, depending on what lens I have on. And then I have my ISO on auto, anywhere between 100 and 6400, because anything beyond that gets a little bit too noisy for me on the A7R5. And then I also have my shutter speed on auto as well, but I do have a minimum shutter speed for when the ISO is on auto. So my shutter speed never drops below a certain setting. And usually for concerts, I set it to 1/500, so 1/500th of a second. But this concert was actually quite calmer than the concerts that I usually shoot. So I was able to knock that down to 1/250th of a second. So I could save myself some noise by doing that. That way, my camera handles all of the exposing by itself, and I don't have to think about exposure, ISO, shutter speed, anything like that. I can just focus on the composition, the frame, getting the picture that I want, so I can stay in the right headspace. So I'm back in the office, and luckily I've had a few days to go over the photos, to edit them, and all that sort of stuff. But I want to tell you about my post-processing process. So I import my photos, and I back them up, and then I open them up in Photo Mechanic, because usually I rate my photos in camera. I give them a 1-star rating if it's a good photo in camera, but at concerts, I don't have time to do that. So because I took 3,400 photos, I have to filter out the best ones. So I open them up in Photo Mechanic because I shoot RAW and JPEG. So when I open them up in Photo Mechanic, it just shows me the JPEG. There's no thinking, there's no buffering like there is in Lightroom. It's just really quick. So what I do is I just open them all up and then I skim through them, give the best photos a 1-star rating. Don't think too much about it, that's a 1-star. And then I keep going like that for all of the photos. And these are 3,400 photos. It took me about an hour and a half to skim through them. I just threw on a movie and it's fine. And then after that, the ratings are embedded into the file itself. So when I open them up in Lightroom and I import them into Lightroom, I say, the ratings follow. So I import all of these photos into Lightroom, and I'm left with around 120, 121 one-star rated photos. And because that's, again, a little bit too much, I rate them again, 2 stars for the best ones, and then I'm left with 40 photos. And with concert photos like this, I don't have a preset that I use. Usually I just edit from the ground up because every venue is different, they use different lights, everything is different. So one preset can't really, cover it all. But there are 2 things that I like to keep in mind when I'm editing my photos, concert photos specifically, is I want my blacks to be black. I want them to be really black, because if they're not black and they're kind of gray, I feel like they're washed out. And then I also want my whites to be white. They don't have to be pure white, but they have to get close to real white. Even though they're a little bit colored maybe, they have to be, close to white.
Do you hear yourself when you talk?
But there is another thing that I want to mention. I'm shooting with the A7R5, but the thing is, it is quite noisy. I mean, it's manageable and fine in regular conditions, but in extreme conditions like concert photography and stuff, where the ISO gets really high and you have to crank your exposure maybe a bit more in post, you're left with a lot of noise, right? But that doesn't really worry me, because the AI, the AI denoise feature in Lightroom is absolutely bonkers. Let's take, for example, this photo right here. It is extremely noisy. I like it a lot, but it is just so noisy. But just applying the denoise, bing, bang, boom, 20 seconds later, I have a clean photo. I don't take it all the way because I like a little bit of grain, because it just makes it more organic, natural, and less like CGI. But yeah, then I get a clean image and it's fine. So I'm not worried about like the noise in the camera at all. It can be noisy, it's fine. The AI denoise can handle it. And like I said in the beginning, my original plan was to try to get 2 photos and blend them together in like a double exposure. So I had to get like one of the guys big and one of the guys small, or a silhouette or something like that. So, and because this is a duo, I first thought, okay, I'm gonna get the DJ like close and big, and then I'm gonna get the singer kind of wider and then blend that together. And this is what I got. I started off with this photo right here of the DJ, of Harvey. This is a pretty good photo. I like it. I like the flare. It's nice. And then I blended it together with this photo to get this photo right here. And I'm pretty happy with it. It's pretty nice. I like the flare, both the anamorphic flare like this and the big flare by the DJ. It looks good. I like it. But then I also got this shot right here. This shot I'm very happy with. This shot was great. Looks nice in the light. I like, you can see his face and then the shadow that comes off his bucket hat and then kind of how it falls into the blackness. I think this is a good kind of a silhouette type of photo. So I wanted to blend this with something else. And I immediately thought of one photo that I got where he was standing in front of the crowd and the crowd had their flashlights on. And because again, I had this anamorphic filter, I got the streaks. I thought this would look pretty good. So I blended them together and I got this right here. And I'm pretty happy with it. It came out pretty well. I mean, of course I could mix and match both of these photos, both of these compositions. You know, I could change the bottom parts of the image, swap them, and it'll look pretty good. Maybe I'll try that. But I mean, I like it. I think it came out pretty well. Unfortunately, I didn't get one of the photos that I wanted. I wanted like the motion trail streak things, but I couldn't get a composition or a frame that I thought would work very well with that. Mainly because they weren't really bringing their arms up or doing any big excessive movements like that. So maybe next time. You know, you win some, you lose some, it's fine. But yeah, and here are the rest of the photos that I took. Not all of them, but like the ones that I think are the best. And yeah, it went pretty well. So thank you for watching. Come again for the next one. Bye. I fucking got it. There's like a thing of Fanta or some soda next to him, but I can take that out. Fuck yes.